Our story begins in Pompeii, in the year 79 AD. It was a thriving Roman city, just buzzing with commerce and art and politics. But it was also a city that lived under the constant, quiet watch of a sleeping giant, Mount Vesuvius. This is the story of its final, fateful days. Into this vibrant setting comes a man named Glaucus, a noble Athenian, and he is almost immediately captivated by a beautiful Greek woman, Ione. Their connection, it's instant, and it sets the stage for a passionate romance. But their love, it casts a shadow, and out of that shadow steps a dangerous figure, Arbaces. He's a powerful Egyptian sorcerer, and he was once Ione's guardian. Consumed by obsession, he's determined to have Ione for himself, and he sees Glaucus as just an obstacle to be removed. Amidst all this growing tension, Glaucus's path crosses with a blind flower seller named Nydia. He rescues her from her cruel masters, an act of simple kindness. But for Nydia, it's so much more than that. That one moment sparks a deep and ultimately tragic, unrequited love for the man who saved her. Well, Arbaces' obsession only gets worse, and he ends up threatening Ione directly. But Glaucus, along with Ione's brother, Apaecides, they confront the sorcerer and manage to save her from his grasp. The confrontation gets heated, and in all the chaos, a column actually collapses, pinning Arbaces underneath it. And as the dust settles, the ground beneath their feet trembles. It's just a faint but very ominous warning from Vesuvius, a small sign of the destruction to come. So as Glaucus and Ione are celebrating their love, their happiness is a source of deep sorrow for Nydia. She has to watch from the sidelines, completely heartbroken, and this vulnerability, it's about to be used against her. This is where Julia, a wealthy woman who also wants Glaucus, comes into the picture. She sees Nydia's innocent love as a tool, something she can use. She preys on the girl's desperation and convinces her to give Glaucus what Nydia thinks is a love potion, a magic way to finally win his heart. But Julia's potion isn't a love charm at all. It's actually a poison, one that's designed to shatter the mind. And after Glaucus drinks it, he's plunged into a state of delirium. His entire perception of reality just begins to fracture. At the same time, Arbaces, who has since been freed, is out for revenge. He finds Apaecides, Ione's brother, who had started to speak out against the sorcerer's corrupt cult, and there, in a shadowy garden, Arbaces murders him. And then Arbaces sees his chance. He finds the rambling, incoherent Glaucus nearby and frames him for the murder. He presents this madman, along with the bloody weapon, to the authorities as if it's undeniable proof of his guilt. With his rival out of the way, Arbaces moves fast. He seizes legal guardianship of Ione, which basically makes her his prisoner. And then he captures Nydia, silencing the one person who could possibly unravel his entire plot. But Nydia, even though she's imprisoned, isn't broken. She actually manages to bribe a guard and sends a desperate message to Glaucus's friend, a man named Sallust. In it, she reveals the whole conspiracy and just begs him to intervene before it's too late. But time is quickly running out. Glaucus has no one to defend him, and he's swiftly condemned. The sentence is death by wild beasts in the amphitheater. And it seems like the whole of Pompeii turns out to watch the spectacle. So Glaucus is pushed out onto the hot sand of the arena floor, all alone in front of thousands of people. The crowd is roaring as a heavy gate is raised, and out of the darkness comes a massive lion, starved and ready to kill. But then, something impossible happens. The entire arena goes silent. The lion, it seems to recognize Glaucus from some past act of kindness, and it just peacefully lies down, refusing to harm him. At that exact moment, Sallust bursts into the arena. He holds Nydia's letter up for everyone to see, exposing Arbaces as the real murderer in front of the whole city. The crowd erupts into an enraged mob. They start demanding that Arbaces be thrown to the lion. But a much greater and far more indiscriminate judge is about to pass sentence on every single one of them. Because at that moment, the world is torn apart. Mount Vesuvius explodes in a cataclysmic eruption. The sky just vanishes, replaced by a suffocating cloud of ash and fire. The city's little spectacle of death is completely swallowed by a real one. Pompeii itself is beginning to die. Even as the world is ending around him, Arbaces makes one last grab for power.
He seizes Ione in all the pandemonium, but the heavens themselves seem to deliver the final verdict. A bolt of lightning from the ash cloud strikes him down, a dramatic end to his evil. Now, in the suffocating, ash-filled darkness, everyone who can see is effectively blind. The streets are completely unrecognizable. But Nydia, who has always lived in darkness, suddenly has the advantage. The thing that was her disability now becomes their only hope for survival. She navigates by memory, by touch, and guides Glaucus and Ione through the screaming crowds and the collapsing buildings. She leads them all the way through the chaos to the harbor and gets them safely onto a ship that's escaping to the sea. As the sun rises on their first day of safety, Nydia knows her own journey is over. She's delivered the man she loves safely into the arms of another woman. And so, believing her purpose is now fulfilled, the blind girl who guided them through the darkness quietly slips into the sea. It's her final tragic sacrifice. 10 years go by. The fires of Vesuvius are long cold, and Pompeii is now just a buried memory. But for the survivors, though they are scarred, life has gone on. Glaucus writes a letter to his old friend Sallust, and in it he describes his new life in Athens. He says that he and Ione have found peace. They've even embraced the new faith of Christianity. And in their garden they've built a memorial, not to the old gods who abandoned Pompeii, but to the mortal girl whose selfless sacrifice gave them a future. A memorial to Nydia. In the end, the story of Pompeii is one of the awesome, destructive power of nature. But through all that chaos, it's the story of Nydia, a story of love, courage, and selfless sacrifice that ultimately survives the ashes. It seems that even when a whole civilization is wiped from the earth, the memory of human goodness can be powerful enough to endure.